And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It's the end of January. And as we always said, and we were taught by Bill O'Neill, January can be funky months in the market. And I think we got a little bit of that. I'll explain in a moment. But in case you don't know, this is Investor's Edge. It is serious talk on everything that affects you. We'll do the markets, the economy, your job, your industry, the Morlocks in D.C. Go look up the word Morlocks and where they're from, and everything else they try to do to us, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't get this radio show in your city, we'll post it at GaryK.com. We'll also post it on our X feed. If you don't follow us on X, you should. And if you'd like to email us, just be nice. By the way, we'll also post it on the BizTV YouTube channel and other podcast apps. Okie doke. So, those that pay attention, we have been telling you that gold and silver have gone beyond the beyond. Extended as far as we've ever seen. In our webcast that we do for our peeps, we were showing where the 50-day moving average was compared to where price was. Off the charts. We have said, got to be worried and careful about a climactic end, which usually ends sadly. We have highlighted all the climactic Qualcomm from the year 2000, Tilray, when the marijuana stocks were going insane, and things like that. But you never know what day and why and what. You just know when something is at hand. Amazingly, and again, we think we've seen everything, and then something else happens. So let me just describe this for you. Silver. What's been talked about like crazy recently? Silver. Do you know why? Because price has gone almost vertical. What has been talked about also big time? Gold. Why? Because price has gone almost vertical, especially in the last 7-8 days. Gold was only down 10% today. Only. The gold miners were down almost 13. The junior gold miners were down over 13. Silver was down 28.5% today. Giving back, let's see, at the close, all of the last 2.5 weeks. And I've gotten a lot of inquiries. And do you know what we do on this show? And you know what we do with our webcasts? First and foremost, is protect capital. Especially at important moments. A couple of those important moments are, for example, those no sale stuff going crazy to the upside because of some announcement, and they've all crashed. Or when something goes up, let's see what silver did here. Silver in 2 weeks went up 50%. That's where the extremes are, and that's where you have to be more cautious. We're actually hearing from people that bought in the last couple of days. And I asked each one, do you actually know where price came from in the last month? That's the easiest of the questions. Do you actually know where price was in the last month? And they were all, well, I know it was going higher. And if they haven't sold, they were down almost 30% in silver today. Why? Because they bought after a gargantuan move in the hopes it would be even bigger than gargantuan. which could have been and still could be. But you got to know your spots. You got to understand extremes. And that's on the other side also. What happened today? I don't know. Believe it or not, there are people out there saying the reason why gold and silver got hit so hard today, by the way, and other metals too. What is that? Platinum, down almost 19%. Palladium, 16%. Copper, excuse me, okay, only 6%. They're actually saying the reason why it happened is because the president named the next head of the central bank, a man by the name of Kevin Warsh. And supposedly, because in the past, he was a hawk, meaning he does not believe in easy money. The dollar bounced pretty good today, sending commodities down. But the problem with that reason is he's been out there lately with a change of stance. I watched an interview where he was talking more easy. Anyway, that was the story of today. What do I think happens from here? My only answer is typically. Remember that word typically. Normally. Remember that word normally. Usually. Remember that word usually. After a climactic top, you're going to get wide swings, both up and down, but typically it's a top for a decent amount of time. And when we say that top, we're talking the highs, which are 28% higher on silver. Let's see, the SLV topped out at 110, it's 75. Damn. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our world, ladies and gentlemen. Well, which takes me to the new central banker. I try not to watch too many people, but I had to see what people saying about this man. And they were all yapping away. He used to be a central banker, and yes, he was a deficit hawk, meaning he was an inflation fighter. How do you fight inflation? Well, less easy money. And as I have told you, and I'm smarter than all of them, inflation is a monetary outcome. The reason why we had 9% is the Yutz Powell printed to $9 trillion, took the 10-year down to 0.5% by using that printed money out of thin air and interfering with the bond market, buying up bonds. And of course, the market's going to buy along with them. You ended up with 3% mortgages, and we still have the distortions from back then. In the past, Warsh was against that. Here's the issue, and it's an interesting way to think about it. The president nominated a guy, yet the president is the one that wants Fed funds to be at 1%. Would Donald Trump nominate somebody that thinks and does the opposite of what he wants? Well, the jury is out. We'll see how it plays out. There's some things Mr. Warsh said that I love. Let's see if he follows through. He said the Fed is too big. Too much power. What have we been telling you forever? They have too much power. How did one man have the power to print to $9 trillion and take over the whole freaking bond market without any accountability or anybody voting on it? Too much power. He also said we should get rid of the printed money. I love that. We were supposed to never, just remember, Bernanke started it. And Bernanke said in 2008, don't worry, it's just going to be temporary. Well, $9 trillion later and 17 years later wasn't so temporary. Hey, up next, lots to cover. Don't miss. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. So that was a story today. And, you know, we'll see. We'll see. If he lessens the power of the Fed, I'm thrilled. If he lessens the balance sheet of the Fed, which they were never supposed to have, I'm thrilled. If he does not kiss Donald Trump's butt and take rates down to 1%, which would be insane, I'll be thrilled. If he's independent, I'll be thrilled. What do they say about Missouri? It's the show me state. He'll have to show me. Not that he gives a crap what I think, but he'll have to show me. Other big story, well, two other things. Totally off the beaten path. What does somebody have to do to get the death sentence? I bet you that surprised you. You know that prick Luigi, who, by the way, a bunch of maniacs have raised over $1 million for a murderer? Not only a murderer, but a coward, a wimp. Shot a man dead in the back, didn't even look at him in the face. Luigi. Women fawning over him because he's cute. Any of you that did that, you're all sick. But what do you have to do to get a death sentence these days? He shot an innocent man in the back dead. They took away any chance of a death sentence. And I know there's this thought process that in the past we have found out people that were on death row were found out to be innocent. That's a horror story. But this is an open and shut case. Video. Weapons. Fingerprints. A little manual. They got his phone beeped all over the place. Everything. If I'm the son of this man, I am beside myself. And I got to tell you, if I was in that courtroom, I'd jump over the table and kick his arse. And I don't care if I'd get arrested. Anyway, that's off the beaten path, I know. Then there's something else going on around the country. A lot of protests today against ICE. A lot of protests against ICE. I repeat it as I always say. As long as it's peaceful, have at it. It's what makes the country great. The ability to protest against the government, regardless which side you're on, but peacefully. That's all. Non-peaceful, arrest them. Put them in jail. Charge them. Indict them. Try them. I'm all good with that too. That's a big story going on right now. And again, you know my thought. I think they're nuts how they're going about this. Remember, politics is about marketing and money. The marketing by this administration on immigration now is an F-. And they had A+++ on the border. But now it's an F-. Not in deporting people. The king of deportation was Obama. but in how and the marketing of it. Muy estupido. And it's going to cost them in November. Anyway, that's the story there, and those are the big bits of news today that I wanted to cover. But let's segue back to the market. Well, the Dow was down 500 earlier, finished down 180. S&P finished down 30. The NASDAQ finished down 225. The NASDAQ 100, 332. The Russell 2000 got hit. The mid-caps got hit. But a few things of note that I would like you to know about. Well, first and foremost is the gold and silver. Classic climactic drop. It's where there's so much pressure buying that the air comes out and it does it quickly. And if you go back to the past climactic runs, you will notice that first day down is usually a doozy. And then after that, it gets on the random side. We'll keep you apprised. But some other things happened today that I was actually surprised about by the end of the day. Not a big surprise, but so first off, we've been telling you to avoid the software bear market. They worsened again today. Amazingly so. I'm actually stunned that there's actually been no let-up in the software, just destruction. And we're not even talking, you already know about Oracle, 345 to 164. Now Microsoft, 553 to 430, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for Microsoft it is. SAP, the big German guy, 313 to 201. Adobe's been the bear market before anything, but they've hit everything. And each day it worsens. And I posed the thought, boy, they had better not come after the semiconductors, because the semiconductors and all those things have been a big help to the indices in holding them up and not getting hit. By the close of today, they were hitting them. And the SOX dropped 321 points, almost 4%, which, by the way, first, kind of normal, needs to pull back. But second, I think we're in this market, feast or famine. So is it going to continue? You had one little disaster today, was KLAC down 15% on their earnings, down $257. It's a $1,400 name. But that got hit hard, and then they were coming after some other stalwarts. Up next, and then there's SanDisk. What happened with that one? Quite weird. We'll take that on. Up next on Investor's Edge. Let me, interesting, I have never gotten any flack by saying there's no way Epstein committed suicide. You know that. Nobody's ever said anything different to me. The preeminent coroner, Dr. Baden, said it was homicide. Conveniently, the video monitor wasn't working, and conveniently, the guards were gone. But nothing to see here. Well, they just put out a trove of Epstein files, and we're not going to mention, and it doesn't mean they're true. But take 5 minutes of your time this weekend and go read up a who's who of people in those files, and make sure you're holding your nose when you read up what people are being accused of. But no, he committed suicide. And the video monitor wasn't working, no guards. And the preeminent coroner said it was homicide, but it's been put under the table. What's the line? Don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining. Anyway, I'll never change my mind on that. And this trove of files that just came out today, well, you get to decide for yourself. Now we segue back to the markets. SanDisk. Holy crap. Unbelievable numbers. Magnificent guidance. But interesting enough, because of the market condition today, they had that at $676 on the first bar today, up $136, getting it even more extended to the upside. By 3:30, it was down to 533, a reversal of $140 and into the red, and then a rush into the close when they bounced the market. Did finish up 30 some odd bucks today, but way off the highs. But also noticing Seagate down 39 bucks, was down 49 before the last. Same thing. They all bounced a little bit after the close. Western Digital down $28. They bounced that 12 bucks. That was down 40. But I mentioned KLAC. Micron was down 20 before they bounced that 10 bucks. It was 30. ASML finished down 32. All the biggies. To be watched very closely going into next week. And why do I say this? Because the software stocks are showing no signs of life. Even today, when they're oversold and blasted. I got symbol APPF down 8%. CrowdStrike, another down day. Snowflake, another down day. Vive, another down day. GWER, another down day. The list goes on and on and on and on in software land. And my main thought process along those lines, by the way, APP was down 96 bucks today, only 17%. Again, the thought process is, man, they better not get the semiconductors. Well, they got them decently today, but I'm going to consider it necessary. It was extended. Walking into next week, I'm going to have that front and center on my thoughts. I got something else that's going on. You know what's starting to shine? Hershey's. Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola? Hershey's? British Tobacco. British Tobacco? What? Pepsi. Pepsi? What's going on there? You catching my drift? They're starting to... Colgate, up 6% today. And if you look at the earnings and sales of these companies, growth is almost non-existent. These are your consumer staples, your food, drug, beverage, tobacco, household products, and it looks like they're getting a little bit of juice in here. We'll be keeping our eye on that also. Why? Because when the market gets defensive, it decides to go defensive. And that would be what is known as the defensive areas. And foremost in that is the consumer staples. The food, drug, beverage, tobacco, household products. And I got to tell you, not that I'm touching it, Coca-Cola broke above a little range today going back 10 months. And by the way, their earnings growth the last 3 quarters, 146. Sales growth -2, +1, +5. You're not going too far with those. But when the market gets defensive, it finds defensive. You know what else bounced today? And these are in bearish phases. The insurance stocks. Why? When the market goes defensive, it looks at defensive, and insurance has this little defensive component to it because we're always paying them. And by the way, speaking of that, I was looking how much I pay for auto insurance. And then I have a buddy that said, look at this one. I'm going to be cutting my auto insurance by 50%. I'm going to tell the company I'm with, if you can't match them, have a nice day. And I'm thinking, why does one charge this and the other one charge that? Because they got away with it, I guess. And by the way, I did my homework. What else? Visa on earnings down $10 today. American Express on earnings down 6, though it was down 14. But as we said, the Dow was down 500, finished only down 180. So American Express, being a Dow stock, bounced. Okie doke. Let me throw a couple other things at you. And you're welcome again. They are, again, ripping the quantum, nuclear, drones, air taxis, stocks, and all that stuff. So we hope you listened. And for the record, before they topped, here's one that went from 194 to 80. Just one example. 464 to 278. And I still, by the way, some of these are still, valuations are still a joke. The whole stock market is not even a bear market, and there's still ridiculous valuations. The rare earths, the administration giveth and taketh away in the same week. Said we're going to get involved with this. Oh, but by the way, on pricing that. They jumped up. They went right back down. You all be careful. This ain't no hill for a climber. And as we promised you, if nothing changes, they're all going back where they came from. Up next, we'll finish the week off. An eventful week. This is the one only Investor's Edge. Da-da-da. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. You know, I've always said to you, as we get older, our heroes pass away. There's not a day that goes by I don't hear about somebody in the sports field that passes away that I remember being a star when I was a kid. The Home Alone mother passed away at 71 years old. I saw her at some event a few months back, and she looked gaunt. I don't know if she had an illness, whatever. Nobody said anything. 71. The Home Alone mother, Catherine O'Hara. Man, as you get older, this is what we deal with. We lose our idols, our musical idols. I can't begin to tell you how depressed it is that Phil Collins and Genesis are never going to tour again. That the Eagles are still touring, but without Glenn Frey. And the list goes on. You all experiencing the same thing I am, right? Speaking of that, I haven't watched it yet, but 2 unbelievable 5-set Australian Open Australian Open tennis semiconductor. What a doofus. Tennis matches overnight. I taped them both. And just in case you don't know, I'm not going to tell you who won. But it was Alcaraz against Zverev and Sinner against Djokovic. 2 massive 5-setters. That's the problem with the Australian Open. Matches are on at 3 in the morning and all that. But I taped them. I'm going to start watching them today and tomorrow. Where did semiconductors come up when I'm talking tennis? And I don't drink. So going into next week, boy, am I going to be focused on the semis if they worsen. We already know where the software things are. And we'll see what happens. I'm pretty damn sure if they really take semiconductors down, and they're overdue, the NASDAQ 100 will break the 50-day. But as of now, has not. And when they were tipping the Dow late in the day before the little close at the end, NASDAQ was down over 300. Next week will be Amazon and Google. I don't want to call them Alphabet, and I don't know why they changed their name anyhow. And we'll see how those. Amazon stock has done nothing for 12 months, but not very far off the highs. Apple. I really like their numbers. But interesting enough, the stock was down $6 early in the day. Finished it up $1. And actually, at 350, was up 3. I'm going to keep an eye. Why? I'm also a fundamental guy. They accelerated their earnings and sales. And I always look for something like that. But the stock's still, I'd call it comatose. I'm going to pay attention to SanDisk. Down 100 from the highs today, but a quick up 40 from the lows in the last 20 minutes. And the numbers were just plain boffo. Off the charts. And as far as gold and silver, I have absolutely no edge on what happens Monday. They can bounce it. They can continue it. Typically, normally, usually. You're now going to go through a period of time of some wild swings, and then we'll find out what's in store. But that was definitely a climactic implosion of a vertical move to the upside. With, by the way, I don't know who. Somebody came out today with an $800 or $8,000 on gold after a gargantuan move up. Sentiment off the charts. Bitcoin, still can't find a friend. And I must tell you, earlier today was living a little bit below the recent lows. Finished a little bit above. Had better not take it out. We hope you have been listening to us on the crypto. Simply put, it's a bear market. That's all. And where it stops, you don't know. It could stop here. It could keep going. The one in the last bear market of stocks, it was down 75% to Bitcoin. We are not predicting that. We're just highlighting, as of this second, it's in a bear market. And again, we hope you listened. So, little tough sledding going on today. And again, go look at the top in TLRY from a few years back. Go look at the top in Qualcomm from 2000. You'll see that's what silver looks like. A little less so in the gold. Have a great weekend. Drive carefully. When you get home, do like we do. Quite simple. Make sure you hug your family and children. They will feel better. You will feel better. I promise. Stay well. Be well. Rest up. Good night.